I think Donald Trump thought that he was going to show the press something today. Like he was going to put them in their place. And I'm really curious about who on the team thought it was a good idea to just send him out there to talk as though that was going to end well. It did not end well. And, me doing this, what I do, I had to consume it. And it really is enough to make you wonder who's really the unstable one. Maybe we're unhinged because it seems so absurd that there could be anyone in America who could look at Donald Trump even prior to today, but especially after today's press conference, who can look at him and say, yep, that's my president. I'm so proud of that dude. The fact that there are people who exist that actually think that makes me question the very foundation, the fundamentals of reality. Like, maybe it's me. Maybe I know it's not, but just to realize that there are people who are so confident about this madman, about this man who is unhinged is not even enough. Instead of describing it, I'm going to play some clips. How about that? Let's do that. I have some interviews coming up later on the show. We'll talk about that. But I want you to experience, if you haven't already, the sheer madness of Donald Trump. And I don't even know where to start. But before I start, I do want to give credit to Allegra Kirkland from Talking Points Memo. Allegra, you are the MVP. You're the real MVP. You guys go to Talking Points Memo and read her article about all of the craziness of today's press conference. She's a real MVP because she cut up the clips and I didn't have to. So I got to give credit where credit is due. But this is what we deal with. And I honestly don't know where to start because there's just so much. There's so much. It's so bad that Fox News can't even handle it anymore. But instead of me describing it, let's start with Russia and Russia not being fake news. Here we go.
For myself, I own nothing in Russia. I have no loans in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia. President Putin called me up very nicely to congratulate me on the win of the election. He then called me up extremely nicely to congratulate me on the inauguration, which was terrific. But so did many other leaders, almost all other leaders from almost all other countries. So that's the extent. Russia is fake news. This is fake news put out by the media. The real news.
All right, so that's the setup. Russia is fake news. So keep that in mind. Everything that we've heard this week has been, fake news. So if Russia is fake news, then why is he concerned with anything that has been leaked, right? Why would he be concerned with something that's been leaked if Russia is fake news? And then he subsequently went right into, well, Russia's fake news, but we have to be worried about, let's focus on the leaks. Let's not worry about anything else. Let's worry about the leaks. Here's Donald Trump discussing that even though this is fake news, we should be focused on the leaks because so logically, how can it be both? How can it be both fake news and be a leak or leaks that we should be concerned about? That's the question. If the leaks are absolutely real, how can the news be fake? Here he is.
It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
The reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask.
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life, but I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone, the word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such, I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. The tone is such hatred. I watched this morning a couple of the network, and I have to say, Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. They're very, not because they're good, because they hit me also when I do something wrong, but they have the most honest morning show. That's all I can say. It's the most honest. But the tone, Jim, if you look, the hatred, I mean, sometimes. All
right, so there you go. That's the other half. So it's fake news, but the leaks, and he didn't even answer the question. So this is the question the journalist asked him. If it's fake news, how can the leaks be real? How can they be both and? Now, he did a masterful job. Like, part of me wonders if he's smart, and part of me wonders if he's completely insane. And it's probably both, right? So he's not going to answer the question because he can't answer the question, Mr. Trump or Mr. President, or whatever you want to call him. If the news is fake and the leaks are real, how can those two things be true? Well, he won't answer the question. Instead, he wants to talk about how he gets good ratings. He wants to talk about how he is, how his favorite show is Fox and Friends, and worried about the tone of everyone else. It gets better. That's just the beginning. So on this next clip, he's asked about the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States, and this is how it went.
He's going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not. It's not a simple question. Not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question. So here's the story, folks. Number one, I am the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. Number two, racism. The least racist person. In fact, we did very well relative to other people running as a Republican. Quiet, quiet, quiet. See, he lied about he was going to get up and ask a very straight, simple question. So, welcome to the world of the media. But let me just tell you something, that I hate the charge. I find it repulsive. I hate even the question, because people that know me, and you heard the Prime Minister, you heard Netanyahu yesterday. Did you hear him, Bibi? He said, I've known Donald Trump for a long time. And then he said, forget it. So you should take that instead of having to get up and ask a very insulting question like that. Go ahead.
That wasn't the question, Donald Trump. Anyway, okay, so here's a little bit more of this press conference, and more importantly, I know people's gut reaction is always this. This is always, not everyone, but there's a group. He's like, oh, this is a distraction. This is a distraction. He's trying to no, we can multitask, right? I don't think anyone's taken their eyes off the ball of what's happening with regard to his nominations, to his cabinet appointments, to what's the investigation that was started because of the Washington Post and the New York Times with regard to Russia. Nobody's taking their eye off of that. No one, people can multitask. So if you think he's doing like this three-dimensional chess, distracting America, I might question your ability to actually multitask, because in reality, you should be able to see this in isolation and see the unhinged nature of his mind and realize, what if he was put in a situation like the Cuban Missile Crisis? Is this the quality of mind that you want? We answered this in the election, right? Most of us said hell no then, but now it's even more evident. He does not have the mental faculties to handle the job of the president. He's not a mastermind trying to distract the press. He's an unhinged maniac who is obsessed with the press. There's a big difference. He's not trying to distract them. He wants them to love him. And he doesn't understand why they don't love him. All right. In this clip, he's talking more about how, anyway, Donald Trump, here he is.
Having a good time. Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it. But tomorrow the headlines are going to be, Donald Trump rants and raves. I'm not ranting and raving. Go ahead.
I just one.
Yeah. Last but not least, this clip is less a window into his mental stability as it is He has no clue about the American government and institutions that have popped up or cropped up over the last couple decades. This last clip is very telling, and it's very telling in his approach to the black community because, well, here you go. I'll let him speak for himself.
Say the inner cities. Are you gonna include the CBC, Mr. President, in your conversations with your urban agenda, your inner city agenda, as well as?
Am I going to include?
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional?
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus,
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
Yeah.
No.
Are they friends of
I'm
yours?
Just a reporter.
Are they set up the meeting?
I know some of them, but I'm sure.
Let's go. Set up a meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great. The Congressional Black Caucus. I think it's great.
And then he repeats it as though I'm going to say it again to make sure you know that I did not know what it was. So I'm going to say ladies and gentlemen, this is the President of the United States. Give yourselves a big round of applause. The thing that is disturbing about this is that there is a large swath of Americans who look at this and see a successful president beating up on the press. It's one thing to have, I mean, it is dangerous to have the man with the nuclear codes be Donald Trump, looking at how mentally unstable he is. And again, I'm sorry for the ableist language. I just don't have the vocabulary enough to not use it at this point. You guys can, hit me up later about it. I get it. Yeah, but this dude is unhinged. So it's bad enough to have the man with the nuclear codes be unhinged. But then the worst part about this, potentially the worst part about it, is that even if he was gone, there are millions of Americans who look at this and think that this is the sign of a great president, and this is their man, and this is the man that has God on his side, and God and Jesus is. Have you seen that meme of Donald Trump at the Oval Office behind the desk, and Jesus, a ghost of Jesus, is behind him and helping him sign these executive orders? Like people have really, Well, again, let me show you. I put this together a long time ago, almost a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And it shows you, if you want to understand the type of people who could look at Donald Trump and think that Donald Trump is brilliant instead of unhinged, watch this 28 second clip that I put together last year.
My president comes on the TV and he lies to me. I know for a fact are liars. I believe Donald.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He says what I'm thinking. Exactly. And he's speaking our minds. I believe Donald.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to understand how people can look at Donald Trump today and think that he's anything but unhinged, you have to understand that his supporters are equally or greater or more unhinged than he is.